Elsa had always been fascinated by mysteries. From the time she was a young girl, she devoured books about detectives, sleuths, and all manners of crime-solving heroes. She spent hours lost in the pages of Agatha Christie novels, dreaming of one day finding herself in the middle of a real-life whodunit. That dream came true when she took a trip on the Aries Express, the most luxurious train on Mars. Elsa had saved up for months to buy a ticket on the elegant locomotive, filled with old-timey charms and elegance. The train was the only way to travel between the domes of Mars, as the planet's airless atmosphere made travel by any other means impossible. As she settled into her cabin on the Aries Express, Elsa couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. She was finally going to live out her dream of being part of a real-life mystery. The train was filled with wealthy patrons, and Elsa spent the first day and a half exploring the amenities and chatting with the fellow passengers, enjoying the elegant meals in the dining car. But then, on the second night of the journey, something unexpected happened. One of the passengers was found dead in their cabin, and it was clear that they had been murdered. Elsa's heart leapt with excitement. This was her chance to solve a real-life mystery. As the train was still traveling between domes, there was no way for anyone to leave. Everyone was trapped with a murderer on board, and tensions were high. Elsa tried to remain calm and collected, taking notes on everything she saw and heard. She noticed small details that others overlooked, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the murder was somehow familiar. Then it hit her. The murder mimicked the plotline of Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. Elsa couldn't believe it. It was almost as if the murderer had read the book and was trying to copy the crime. But why? Elsa knew that she had to act quickly. The murderer was still on board, and there was no telling whom they would strike next. She pored over her notes, trying to piece together the clues. She spoke with other passengers, hoping to gather more information, but time was running out. On the third night of the journey, another passenger was found dead. This time Elsa was able to gather more information. She noticed that the two victims had something in common. They were both involved in a failed business venture on Mars. Could that be the motive for the murders? Elsa began to suspect that the murderer was someone on board the train who had a grudge against the victims. She spent hours going over her notes, trying to find the missing pieces of the puzzle. As Elsa confronted the suspicious passenger, she was surprised when they burst out laughing. Confused, Elsa demanded an explanation. The passenger, still giggling, revealed that they were not actually the murderer. In fact, they'd been acting suspiciously because they were trying to impress their crush, who happened to be on the train. They had been trying to appear like a bad boy, thinking it would make them more attractive. Feeling embarrassed, the passenger apologized and promised to behave themselves for the rest of the journey. Elsa couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. She had spent hours trying to solve a mystery that wasn't even there. When the train arrived at its destination, Elsa was not hailed as a hero. Instead, she was the laughingstock of the train. Passengers whispered and giggled as she made her way off the train, feeling foolish and dejected. But Elsa refused to let the experience get her down. She realized that the real reward was not in solving a mystery, but in the adventure of trying. She had a newfound appreciation for the unexpected twists and turns of life, and was excited to see what other surprises awaited for her in the future. As Elsa made her way through the bustling streets of the Martian colony, she tried to shake off the embarrassment of her failed investigation. She was lost in thought when she suddenly heard a familiar voice calling out her name. It was the passenger she had accused of being the murderer. The passenger apologized for their earlier behavior and told Elsa that they had overheard a conversation between two other passengers that pointed to the real killer. Elsa was skeptical, but the passenger urged her to investigate. They pointed out the two suspects, a wealthy businessman and a famous celebrity who had been acting suspicious throughout the journey. Returning to the train, determined to redeem herself, Elsa began to investigate the two suspects. She soon uncovered a web of lies and deceit that had woven around the murders. As Elsa was about to leave the train, she heard a commotion coming from the engine room. Curiosity getting the better of her, she made her way to the front of the train and discovered the lifeless body of the conductor lying on the ground. She immediately knew something was off, as the conductor had been acting strange throughout the journey. As Elsa began to investigate, she uncovered a shocking truth, that the conductor was actually an assassin hired by the wealthy businessman. The businessman had a vendetta against the victims and had gone to extreme lengths to cover up his involvement in their deaths. The conductor had been tasked with ensuring that the murders went off without a hitch, and had killed anyone who posed a threat to the businessman's plan. Elsa was both horrified and amazed by what she had discovered. She had never expected the murderer to be someone so integral to the journey itself. but in a strange way she couldn't help but admire the businessman's cunning plan. It turned out that the wealthy businessman had been involved in a shady deal with one of the victims and had killed them to cover up the illegal activity. The celebrity had been hired as a cover-up, but when they realized the gravity of the situation, they tried to back out. The wealthy businessman, fearing the celebrity would talk, had killed them too. Elsa's investigation had led her to the real killers, and she was hailed as a hero once again. The passengers of the Aries Express were shocked to learn the truth and apologized for doubting Elsa's abilities. As she boarded the train to return home, Elsa couldn't help but smile at the unexpected twists and turns of her adventure. She had gone from being the laughing stock of the train to a celebrated hero, and it all started with a failed investigation. From that day on, Elsa was known as a detective who never gave up. She continued to solve mysteries and uncover hidden truths, always with a sense of humor and a willingness to embrace the unexpected. Who knows, maybe one day she'll even solve a mystery that takes place in space.